Okay, everyone. This is a JavaScript tutorial on how to return an array in chunks, and we're going to use a couple methods to achieve that. I'm going to leave this right now. So I'll take this real slow. We have an array. Okay, we got 9 items in the array, starting at 0, and so we're going to pass through this 2 parameters. And how we're going to do this is we have an array. And then we have, after that, a value. And so how this is going to work, no matter what value we pass through here, we are going to return however many new arrays in this many chunks. So if we have 8 items here, that means our first array is going to be 0, 1, 2, and then the next array is going to be 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. How do we create a function in JavaScript that will do that? That gives us 2 values, 2 parameters, an array and a value, and then returns those array in chunks. So let's try to make this happen. Let's try to make this work. So first of all, we'll create a function for this, and if I run this, I just get I guess some crazy ass shit. We're gonna call it we'll call it chunk array. Chunk array. Is the name of our function. So we have 2 parameters here. Let's create a function, call it chunk array, and we have an array and a value. Let's call it a value and a code block. We're going to want to return the array, and let's see what that does. It returns just the array. So what we're looking for here is going to be 3 different arrays with this array chopped up into 3 different spots. So how do we do that? All right, well, let's go through this. First thing we want to do is create a variable for the final array. Let's just call it final array, and we'll make it empty. And we're going to use what's called the .push method to push things into that final array. So that's how we'll begin our little adventure here. And so since we're going to have smaller arrays, I want to create another smaller one, and I think I'll call it. Well, actually, no. Let's keep it for one array right now. We can do this easily, actually, just using a for loop. So if we use a for loop and loop around the array, let's just create a real simple for loop here. Set the index, check the condition. Let's make sure it's longer than the length of the string, or the array rather, not the string. And then let's increment the index. This is how I start every for loop, so I can start with this and then change it as I need to. So from here, let's see what this does. Let's make sure it's console logs. It's going through the array. So we'll console log the index of the array. And so cool, it spits back for us every item in that array, just one at a time, all 9 of those items. So what do we do from here? We have to put that somehow, just one at a time, well, 3 at a time, we have to push everything into the final array. So we'll leave it at console log for now, just so we see what it's doing. And then after that, we'll remove console log and we'll just push everything. And the way that we can go through an array is the slice method. You've probably heard of this before, which is what we're going to use. I think it's much easier just to use the slice method. So if we have an array, we'll just take the array here and we'll slice it, and we have to give it 2 parameters. Where to start, we'll start with 0, and then where to end it. We have 3, so we know we're going to have to use size somewhere. And then what does that give us? It's going to probably slice it up. Oh, well, I call it val. It's going to slice it up. Yeah, so we have 9 items here, but we're getting somewhere. We want to return this, and then we want to return 2 more with the rest of the items in the array. So it's a start, but now what do we do here? Instead of 0, we want to start at the I index, right? So we'll start with the first, and then as it loops around, we'll create more. No, that still doesn't work here. See what happened here. What happened? So we have the first array that's returning is perfect, but then we start at the second item, at the second index here, and we only go up to 2. That's because our value is only taking us up to the 3rd item That's the maximum item. It can't go any further than that. So let's say that it can keep going by adding the index to it. Let's see what happens then. Okay. All right. When it gets to the end of it here, it stops. So again, we're making progress here. We go 0, 1, 2. Okay. I think what problem is this is that it's incrementing. It only goes up one at a time every time it loops through the array. So it starts at 0 and it returns 3 items, and then it goes up 1, and then it returns 3 items. So we wanted to stop at the end, and then so we wanted to go up 3 items and then return a new array at the 4th index after the 3rd index. So I think we could probably do 1 plus. This might fuck it up though. I keep saying size. Val, that's the value I used before. This might destroy it though. I think, yeah, because we got an infinite loop. Yeah, it just keeps adding 3 to it the whole time. How about I equals I plus val? Of course, we can shorthand this. That does it. Okay, cool. Let's make this easier. Let's equal. And then we have, okay, cool. So now we know what it's console logging, and it's real simple from here. We just take everything that it's doing and we want to push it into the final array. So, whoops, that's all. That's it. We're done. Bam. Easily. So let's see. Let's try to pass through some other values here. Let's have, let's do it by 2 and see if it works first of all. So cool. It gives us all these different arrays and then not enough for the last one, so it just returns 1. Let's divide it up by 5. Should return 2. Yeah, cool. Let's take out some of these here. See what it does, and let's return 2. So awesome. We can give it 2 parameters, and we can slice up this big array into smaller chunks, as big or as small as we want them to. Given everything that we've done with this for loop. You can use, you can actually go through with using if-else statements. You can use .push and, you can use only .push. I think it's more complicated. I think adding the slice method makes this whole thing much easier. All you have to do is just learn how slice works and then, figure it out, work around with the parameters here with the values to try to get what you're looking for, and then it'll be done. But this is, I think, the best way to do it. So we'll leave it at that. Thanks a lot.